So we're going to go ahead and get started. This is an introduction to the DMSc program. I'm your advisor. My name is Nancy Reed. I've been a PA for about 21 years. I've been with University of Lynchburg, just finished my third year, starting my fourth. I've been in PA education now for 11 years in some form or fashion, whether at a master's degree level or a doctorate program. And I'm assigned as your academic advisor. So you will have, you potentially could have one class with me next term, which is PA 910. But I am not teaching your 960 series. So that's why we're holding this tonight. So I kind of get a chance to work with you and get to know you a little bit. And so you can kind of understand some things about the DMSc program. And these are kind of the most asked questions that come up throughout the program. So I am currently located just outside of the Atlanta metro area in Cumming, Georgia. So I'm not actually physically located at the DMSc program. And actually the vast majority of the faculty members are not at Lynchburg. There's Trey Boyd is he's over your practicum. He's physically located at the Lynchburg area, and Dr. Welsh and the staff are, but the rest of the faculty members are elsewhere. Most of us are on the East Coast and on an East Coast time zone. But again, it's just kind of something everybody thinks that we're physically located there, but I am not. I'm in Atlanta metro area. So what does an advisor do in an online program? Probably the most important thing is I will help shepherd you from an administrative standpoint. And with that being said, I'm the one who registers you for classes. And in most aspects, that's a really good thing, because when I went through my doctorate, we would have to stay up to midnight whenever the registration opened and be there to register for the classes that we needed so that the classes didn't fill up and all that. And so from a standpoint of registration, it makes it a little bit easier. If you get off cycle and you do things out of order, we have some steps that we do to help keep you straight from a registration standpoint. And we'll talk about those in just a second. We also answer questions about graduation and how to order regalia, and we help you make decisions about accelerating your program, decelerating your program, adding a certificate. After graduation, I would be the person who you could potentially call on to ask letters of recommendation. Also, I would write correspondences for your employers if you needed help with tuition reimbursement. Sometimes grade reports don't come out in time for you guys to apply for tuition reimbursement. So those are just some of the things that we're here for. So let me talk a little bit about the program curriculum. Some of you may be very, very well versed, but I'm always shocked at the number of people who don't know what classes they're taking the next term and the next term, and what classes make up the program. So if you go to the University of Lynchburg's website, you can click on where it says program details and curriculum, and that this is what the page would look like. And then that second bottom arrow is the academic planner for advanced practice providers. So you are in the advanced practice provider track, which means you're practicing clinicians, you're not PA educators, and that tells you what classes occur in what terms, okay? You can also find this on any page on Moodle. So if you look on any of your Moodle pages, whether it's your PA 971, your practicum page, or your PA 960, or any classes in the future, there's this bar on the right-hand side, and it says course shortcuts. And I zoomed in on the course shortcuts down in the bottom right-hand corner here, and you can click on it, and it says 12-month DMSc curriculum. So that would be what you'd be able to look at to know what classes you're taking in the second term, and the third term, and the fourth term. And we're going to go over those. So currently you're enrolled in PA 960, evidence-based medicine, and the practicum, which is PA 971. The second term, you will be enrolled in 4 classes. Now, if you are having an issue struggling with the first term, you need to reach out to me and let me know about week 5, week 6, that say, hey, I really struggled keeping up with just these 2 classes, because you can see in the second, third, and fourth term, things really take off. And the second term is specifically challenging because people kind of aren't adjusted to adding those 2 courses, healthcare administration and organizational behavior and leadership. So you're adding 2 classes that are called your didactic classes, along with your practicum and your doctoral project. And then the third term is healthcare law, and then your practicum and your doctoral project. And then the fourth term is disaster medicine, global health, practicum, and doctoral project. And generally by the fourth term, it looks a little heavier than and kind of equals the second term, but by the fourth term, you kind of got everything down, and it's not shocking, but that second term can be shocking. And I can say this firsthand because I literally just completed the program myself. Even though I had a DHSC, I went ahead and completed the DMSc program as well, and I just finished this past March. So we do have some certificate programs that you'll hear about as we go through the course. So we have an executive leadership certificate. We have a healthcare administration and management. We have medical education, emergency and disaster medicine, and global health. And you can find those certificate programs on that same homepage. If we go back, if you come right down below where I have the red highlight, you can click on the certificate programs and it will tell you all about those programs. Some people decide, oh gosh, I'm doing really well, I want to go ahead and add an additional class in a term. And people do that successfully and have had no issues. Probably the most certificate program that most people from this track go into is the healthcare administration and management, because literally you have to take just one more class past what you're taking for the DMSc program to complete that certificate. Medical education, it tends to be the second most popular for our group, because a lot of you guys are mid to late career and you've decided you're ready to hang up your clinical, your stethoscope, and you're ready to go into medical education and work in a PA program. And this helps with that transition, kind of getting you ready for what is going to happen next and what it means to be in the medical education field. So you can look at those certificate programs, and if you're one of these people who are overachievers and can keep up with the program, we can talk about adding those certificate programs while you're doing this doctorate, or a lot of people add them after they've completed their 4 terms in the program. So the next probably most asked question is, where do I find my books? How do I know what books I need? So again, on any Moodle page in that shortcuts section, you will have an advanced professional practice book list. So that's the track that you're in, and you will click on that and it will tell you what books you need for the next term. If you watch, there is a group that you are entered into, and a lot of the students from the courses or from the cohorts ahead of you will offer up their books for sale at the end of the term. So you might be able to scoop up some books a little bit cheaper. And I will tell you that those medical law books are pretty expensive. So I would start networking to try and scoop up some of those. So class registration. How do you get registered for class? So class registration occurs, really it's a 3-way process. It happens between me, your advisor, the administrative staff within the program, and then the rest of the university. So if you are following the normal progression, and that's the classes that I showed you previously in this PowerPoint, you have to do nothing. every term you will automatically be enrolled. You won't have to think about it. It just happens, okay? And this process starts in about week 5 of each term. So we're 2 weeks in about 3 weeks, we're gonna start working on registration behind the scenes for your second term. And we need to know if you want to make any changes, slow things down, speed things up in about week 5, because that's when we put together this spreadsheet that then will go on to the registrar's office, okay? The registration process really ends in week 0 of the next term. So what is week 0? So term 1 is weeks 1 through 12. And then you get a break between the terms. You get a 1-week break between the terms, and that's called week 0. And that's when we open up Moodle, and you should be able to look into Moodle and see all of your classes. You won't really be able to see any content within the classes, but you will be able to see what you're registered for. And if for some reason you're missing something, let's say you do not see PA 910 in there, you need to contact me and say, hey, Dr. Reed, I'm missing PA 910. Or, hey, I decided I didn't want to take PA 920 and I see that. So in that week 0, you're going to go in and you're going to make sure that you have all of the classes that you should have on your Moodle. And if there's any issues with registration at that time, that gives us that week 0 to correct, so that when week 1 starts, hopefully everything's straight. Now, the important part that I want you to understand is whenever we make any adjustments to registration, it's a ripple effect. The Moodle registration is changed. Your financial aid is changed. The registrar has to be notified. The finance office who bills you has to be notified. So our goal and our attempt is to have 0 errors in registration. Is that realistic? No, it's not. But it's a 3-way process. You have to convey to me that you have changes, or you have something wrong in Moodle, and then I convey to our administrative staff then who fixes the ripple effect in all of these other areas. So that week 5 of the term, whenever we start the registration process, if you're thinking of doing anything different than what the normal cohort progression is, then you need to let me know. So if you get off of track, let's say you decide you only want to take 1 didactic class in term 2, or you don't want to take any didactic class, or maybe you want to do that 1 class that's needed to complete that certificate. Anybody who is out of sync of the normal progression, and I'll go back, this is what the normal progression looks like right here, this program curriculum. If you are out of sync, we do what is called a plan of study. And what that is it shows what changes and what you have done to alter the normal progression. And what we do with that plan of study, we attach it to the registration sheet. So each term, we have it corrected. We can go into your plan of study and say, oh yeah, that's right. Jane Smith only wanted to take 1 didactic class this term. And so it just helps us to keep our registration straight. So this is what a plan of study looks like. And if you are in a normal progression, you're doing everything like that normal progression of the classes, you will not have one of these. But as soon as you tell me I want to decelerate, accelerate, I want to add a certificate, I want to take a term off, then we start what's called a plan of study. And I will fill this out and I will make any changes over here, and I will email it to you and say, hey, does this look correct? And you're going to say yes. And then we are going to attach that to our registration spreadsheet. And then every term, I'm going to reconfirm with you, is this still good? And the way I reconfirm with you is I send you a Google form. And I will send you this Google form, and it will come in as an announcement in your scholar or in your doctoral project class, because that's all of you guys progress through the 960 series together. So everybody who's in your 960 series class right now will be in your 961, will be in your 962, will be in your 963. So I'll do an announcement and say, okay, registration time again. If you're off cycle for whatever reason, you need to reconfirm what you want to take. And I use this Google registration sheet, and I will update your plan of study. So let's say that you originally said that you didn't want to take PA 910 second term, you wanted to take it in third term. And then third term gets here and you're like, well, no, I better not take it. I want to go ahead and move that all the way to make a term 5. This is how I keep this straight. And again, if you are on the normal progression, you have to do absolutely nothing. You just ignore this registration form. You don't do anything with it. Does anybody have any questions on that? So it's super important that you understand how this process works, because again, it allows us to keep everything straight. And what will happen is if your stuff is not straight, you're going to get a bill from the from the billing office that's incorrect, and then the registrar or the financial aid office, especially like if you're using GI Bill money, it can throw off your GI Bill money and things like that. So just again, you just have to work with me real close if you get out of sync. So the third most important question that everybody asks is, when do I finish my degree? When's my conferral date? And when do I graduate? So these are 3 separate, distinct processes that happen behind the scenes and that confuse people. So you will finish this program because you started in April. You should finish in March, at the end of March of 2020, okay? If you stay in the normal progression. But we finish classes 4 times a year. We finish at the end of March, at the end of June, at the end of September, and at the end of December. But degrees are only conferred 3 times a year. And the reason why that is the board of trustees have to meet in order to confer the degrees. And in order to do so, they have to have everybody there. And so they have board meetings, and the board meetings occur in May, in August, and in January. So you cannot use your degree credentials until your degree is conferred. So let's talk about this with your class specifically. So you're going to graduate in March, but you cannot use the DMSc until your degree is conferred in the middle of May. And the middle of May, your degree will be conferred, and we will have graduation, hopefully, in a COVID environment. Let's hope that we're having one this year. We should have one next year. But we only have one graduation a year. So let's hypothetically say you were a class that ended in December. You would have to wait until May to walk in graduation, but your degree would be conferred in January. So for your cohort specifically, if you stay on track, you will finish in March, your degree will be conferred in May, which means you can use your credentials in May, and you will graduate in May. And just a little bit about graduation. Right now, there's a limit because of COVID. We have a limit of 2 people as guests. Hopefully, as we get further out from this and more people get vaccinated, we can potentially have more. But graduation is held at Lynchburg, and it's usually held about the 2nd or 3rd week of May. And if you need to contact me, my email address is reed_ne@lynchburg.edu. I'm happy to have a Zoom conference with you. You can call me. I prefer pre-planned calls over surprise calls, and I do live in the Eastern time zone. So if you're on the West Coast and you call me at midnight, you're probably going to be waking me up. So, but I'm here to help, with anything that you need. I do want to say one caveat. If you have an issue with the professor, the first thing I'm going to ask you if you come to me with a complaint is, did you contact the professor first? Have you contacted the professor first? And I'm going to ask what you've tried to do to solve the problem or work through the issue first. So I'm always going to refer you back to your professor before I intervene and try to, fix any issue or get in the middle of any issue. So just be prepared that that's the first question that I would ask. So, and I'll go ahead and open it up for any questions if you guys have any questions. Nobody has any questions? Thanks, Christopher. Okay, if nobody has any questions, then you guys can hop off. I will stay on here for a few extra minutes in case anybody, if anybody, has something they don't want to ask in the recorded session of this.